Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Taylor Field here from Geekverse Podcast, bringing you our next episode movie review for, you guessed it, Transformers: The Last Night. Now, I know there's a lot of Transformers fans tuning in for this, and so I'll start off with an overall. It surpassed my expectations. I was not expecting the film to have delivered the way it did, and that being said, it was a long movie, and it went over my head. I looked at my clock afterwards, and I thought, wow, it's already this time. It felt like you were so immersed and sucked into this film that it being 2 hours and 45 minutes, it didn't feel like that. It felt like it was quick, fast, and it kept you pulled into the story the entire time. I was blown away by it with how well that it actually performed and it was executed, especially cinematically, visually. There were so many things that just stood out and really made itself its own unique direction for Transformers, I'd say. So, that being said, if you haven't seen the film, go watch it, pause this, then come back, because I'm going to jump into some spoilers now. So, 3, 2, 1, spoiler territory. So to start off, I'd have to say, with the characters, we have so many returning faces, and Autobots especially coming back. We had Wheelie coming back, and we had Lennox coming back, and there were so many nods to the original trilogy with Shia LaBeouf, with Wiki, and it was awesome to see these appearances and these nods and acknowledgments made towards the original characters and Transformers and everything. And as it jumps in, you get to see, again, even some Decepticons we already know, like Barricade, and we got to see Megatron, and they even do nods towards fallen ones like Starscream. And he's one of my favorite Decepticons. I think Starscream's awesome. But some of the new Autobots that they dropped in on us there's Hot Rod, and there's, like, the list goes on. There's so many Transformers popping up in this story, and not all of them are Autobots, and not necessarily all of them are Decepticons, but they're stuck in like a limbo. You don't get to know their full story, but they're just popping up all over the earth, and it's neat because in the previous films, there were a certain amount of Autobots and a certain amount of Decepticons, and they'd always be engaging, and it was just this tight-knit group of characters that you get to be familiar with and learn about. But now it's just Transformers are part of day-to-day life. They're all over the planet, and it's so cool to see them engaging with this world of humans now, and it's such a different experience to see that, with it being like, oh, the Autobots, there's only a few of them left, and they're on the run, and they're fighting like this is the last group of them, but it's not the case anymore. There's so many all over the place, and I was always worried, like, oh, the films, like, they're running out of Autobots and Transformers, like, where are they gonna get more, because they keep losing opportunities to restart their race, like with the Cube or with the Matrix of Leadership, all these different things that can help them restore their race. And they keep losing these chances, and they keep losing more and more allies and Autobots. So it gets disheartening seeing them lose these incredible teammates and companions in the films. But the Last Night, it's great that they established this borderline here of where there's still so many Transformers out there, scattered all over the galaxy and universe, and they keep settling on Earth. But some of these characters that we got to understand and dive in a little bit more, like Cogsman, he's Anthony Hopkins' Transformer companion. He's got to be one of my favorite Auto. I don't really know if he is an Autobot. I'd say he's my favorite Transformer, one of them so far. But as the movies have gone on, I've been looking for someone to top Sideswipe for me, because Sideswipe's been one of my favorites. I loved him in Revenge of the Fallen. Even he stood out more in Dark Side of the Moon, and then it sucked when he didn't come back for Age of Extinction, and he wasn't in this one, obviously, but it was really cool to see Hot Rod. He, with his French accent, and he was an interesting character. Seeing him team up with Bumblebee as well was very. It was cool to see Bumblebee have that kind of a back-to-back relationship with another Autobot, and not just Optimus Prime, because Optimus and Bumblebee go so hand in hand with each other, being old friends. But it was neat to see Bumblebee engage with another Autobot in this way. And alongside that, there were many other Autobot Transformers thrown into the mix, protecting Anthony Hopkins there. That they shout out like a one-liner or something like that, and you give it a laugh. But there's so many more characters, and Decepticons. Again, there's a whole wave of these new Decepticons that they dump into the story. I mean, we have Barricade, who's familiar already, and then I can't remember a lot of these Decepticons' names, these new ones, but some of them look familiar. They actually look like they were from Dark Side of the Moon. And, you're just trying to remember which ones are which, but they had unique personalities, and as Megatron was getting them freed by bargaining with the TFA, they stand out as their own character. And it's just weird to see this perspective. You have these alien robots that are just battle-hungry killing machines, and they're in jails, like human jails, human prisons, and they're making jokes with the guards, and it's a totally different perspective that you never got to see before, because we went from Age of Extinction, we went from Decepticons and Autobots alike being hunted for scrap metal, and that was it. There wasn't any other dynamic really. It was just them being hunted, boom. And this, you see them, they're arrested, they're being held captive, they're making alliances, they're engaging. It's that, again, as I said, a whole different world that we get to see. Now, for storyline wise, it started off really, really interesting. I was not expecting it to start off back in the medieval days with King Arthur and Merlin, and I had no idea how they were going to incorporate that into the Transformers universe. And especially, how do they explain the Transformers being a part of humanity? Because they've attempted that with so many of the films. Like, in the first Transformers, they discussed how the Transformers were here for such a long time, looking for the cube. And then we have Transformers Revenge of the Fallen, where they've been here even longer, when they were putting up the machine that absorbs suns with the matrix of leadership. And it just goes to show, like, there was an epic battle took place, and the Transformers were there for a long time, and those were the first primes that were there. And then you go to Dark Side of the Moon, and you get to see, the Transformers here were they've been on the moon for a long time, and there's still tons of Decepticons and everything. And then it goes to show Age of Extinction that the creators, they came to this planet a long time ago, and then again, Transformers were on this planet for a long time. And then here we have history written up again in The Last Night, where the Transformers have already engaged with humanity. And this is where it transitioned and leads to, you see Bumblebee and Hot Rod working actively, I believe with the US military, taking down the Nazis. And seeing Bumblebee wearing like old school like gear and just looking really 1940s World War II, like, it was really cool to see that kind of style given to him. But then it doesn't add up in the sense where, how come the American government into the first Transformers wasn't fully prepared or aware of the existence of Transformers and Autobots and Decepticons when the Autobots actively were engaging and fighting alongside the Americans and humanity at that time? Not just with Americans, like I said, humanity. They in this movie, they confirm and they show the Transformers working with many people all throughout history, and it just kind of contradicts it, I suppose, the whole idea behind Transformers 1 and how they didn't understand who these beings were. So that's probably my only quiff with the movie. But that being said, it's something that I can overlook at just how great they handled this film. As the movie progresses, we get to look at how the Optimus Prime in particular, he's kind of taken the back. He's taken a step back basically from this film. We see him only a couple of times, and it really is given the chance to flush out the story of Mark Wahlberg's Kid Yeager, and not even with Bumblebee, but with just some of the new Autobots and the characters. And as Kid Yeager, Mark Wahlberg is progressing through the story, you really get to see how he has really changed since Age of Extinction. Even in the Autobots as well, on top of that, but his journey from going from a inventor to finding and helping the Autobots and keeping them safe as he's on the run, because Lennox and his team of Transformer, I don't want to call them hunters, but capturers, they're on the prowl looking, and I really was wondering where they were going to go with this story, because as I said, we had the Allspark, we had the Matrix of Leadership. There were all these things bringing Cybertron to Earth in Dark Side of the Moon. There were all these attempts, and they kept failing. So to see that there was a new way for them to rebuild Cybertron with Quintessa using the Staff of Merlin, I'm going to call it. It was cool to see that there's still many ways out there for the Autobots to rebuild, regrow, and just start over and keep on expanding. But it never ends that way. Not with the Transformers. They end up blowing up their home, or just putting a stop to it in the name of humanity. But in this story, it doesn't end like that. It ends with Cybertron being kind of in a standstill, and Earth as well. But that comes later. As Optimus Prime is, in Age of Extinction, he leaves Earth to go find his creators. He's going to take revenge on them, and that's what he does. He finds his creator. Does he get revenge? Not necessarily. He gets manipulated, and he gets turned into Nemesis Prime, and he's got the purple eyes, that dark energon look to him, and he doesn't go right back into the scene. It takes a while, but he's with Cybertron as he comes back, and near the end of the movie, and he engages Bumblebee, and that scene, that was an amazing dynamic, and they teased at Bumblebee getting his vocals back, and I wasn't sure if they were really going to do that, because they built up the anticipation, and it was an awesome joke having the Siri voice in there. I thought it was hilarious. But then when Optimus and Bumblebee were engaging, that was an incredible scene. You don't get to see those two clash in any of the other films. So it was a whole new dynamic and twist to see Bumblebee really step out, and without a leader in the movie, aside from Optimus Prime, who wasn't really there for the most part, without that leader, you can see how Bumblebee and the other Autobots, they're trying to stand up and they're trying to be that leader, but they just can't. It's like it's not in themselves. They're amazing fighters, and they're amazing at supporting and contributing as a team, but to stand up as one and be that leader, it's just something that it's a Prime. That's what a Prime can do, and that's what Optimus does. But as in the story itself, though, getting to see more and more of these original knights that were alongside the Round Table with King Arthur and such was absolutely awesome. And how they transformed into a three-headed dragon, just super cool. Another thing with the story, though, some of the characters they mentioned, now they called Wittican. So Wittican, that is the I have to say, like the ancient. It's like an order basically, and that's what Anthony Hopkins is a part of. And as he's explaining this information to Kid Yeager and Merlin's descendant, you get to see pictures of Witwickies, Sam Witwicky, and Seymour Simmons, if you remember him from Sector 7. He's so immersed in getting into the secret organization and being a part of it. And thankfully he does. So obviously it's his dream, but him bringing information to the table, literally the round table, it was so cool to see and connect the dots between the films with how, okay, you have all of these connections in the first film, second, third, fourth, coming together in the story that Anthony Hopkins is explaining to you. And it's cool that finally some loose ends are being wrapped up. You're being able to understand why the Transformers keep coming to Earth, why these things keep happening, and ultimately here is the solution for it. And as that storyline progresses, as I said, like I was talking about earlier, it leads to the point where Bumblebee and Optimus Prime are fighting, and Optimus Prime realizes what's going on and stops, and the Knights are about to execute him when Cade Yeager's managed to stop that and save him. And that was a really, really interesting aspect and take, how the seal actually manifested itself into a sword, and he was able to use it. And he was, for me, it felt like he was the reincarnate of King Arthur himself in this movie, him showing his dedication and his spirit. It really brought out like the honor and the positivity in the other characters in this movie. And Mark Wahlberg absolutely did a phenomenal job. Like, he really rose out and stepped above of what his character was in Age of Extinction. Now, as for the Decepticons, it was their story as it went along. It was very much hard to understand. It didn't at all occur to me that they were working for Quintessa or had that angle going for them. I thought that they wanted the staff just for their own means to achieve their own goals. But in the end, you get to see them that they get the staff and they hand it over to Quintessa, and she's using it to rebuild Cybertron. And at first, I had thought that she was lying, because when she was manipulating Optimus Prime, she puts the idea into his head that Earth is Unicron. Now, the way she was manipulating him, I thought she was lying and using that as a reason for him to engage Earth. But that's not the case. Now, as we come closer to the end, you get to learn that actually is Unicron in the Earth, and that Cybertron has to absorb Unicron, killing the Earth, but Cybertron becomes reinstated to its former glory, basically all powerful again. And Optimus Prime, since he's been manipulated, he goes along with that, and he, as I said before, he gets saved and counteracted, and they go to fight Megatron, and they go to fight Quintessa, get the staff, and put a stop to this. Now, visually, this movie was phenomenal. And as we got to that point in the film, from the beginning right to the end, where they are going to engage Quintessa and Megatron and get that staff, the scenes just blew me away. In Transformers 1, 2, 3, 4, it was very close-knit, and you had trouble really understanding what was going on the screen, the explosions, and just cars running around, flipping all over which way and another. Like, it sends your eyes for a loop. So, it's understandable why some people just think, oh, it's a mash of explosions, but this was totally twisted around and expanded upon. So many of the scenes in this movie were zoomed out in panoramic shots, and seeing this movie in 3D, which I highly recommend, and I'm not one for 3D movies, but Transformers The Last Knight pulled it off very well with all of the effects and the visuals, especially in 3D. But that aside, so when it zooms out in these panoramic shots and you get to see the Transformers running for their lives with the humans next to them, and then you see explosions and you see them fighting and engaging, it's holding you in so much more. And I'm so glad that Michael Bay and the team behind the film did this and took that change from the way they have filmed the previous films on how they've zoomed in too close to the combat and the fight scenes. And this time around, they've expanded, it's zoomed out, and it just feels like you're seeing a whole new world. And it's not just one scene that they do that or another. It's the whole movie, and it is absolutely beautiful, and it's colorful, and the Transformers, it just flushes them out even more seeing them. There's, like, in the previous movies, you get to see in a few scenes where a couple of humans are standing next to Optimus Prime or something like that, but it's on a totally different level in this film. Blows you away. More of those characters like Drift and Crosshairs, Hound, all great characters. Drift actually has a sick color job. No more blue. He's got the red going on, which is totally working for him. I think it's awesome. But moving on from that, another thing is the score. Now, I love that original Transformers theme. And it's kind of stuck throughout the films. And Transformers Age of Extinction, there was just one brief moment when Optimus Prime was mounting Grimlock, and you could hear that theme pop up, and it amps you up, it gets you pumped up. And I was so hoping that they would carry that over into The Last Night, and by God they did. And it's those moments when that score clicks in, and Optimus Prime is giving a speech, or you just see all the people come together with the Autobots, and you just lean up in your theater chair, and you're like, oh my God, this is glorious. You're about to just get sucked into the Transformers verse. The score just is phenomenal. And after this episode, I'm planning on going on iTunes and I'm gonna buy some of the songs from the soundtrack. Absolutely. But the idea behind this movie and how each Transformers film tackles, for me at least, they tackle certain issues and problems. I've always felt like the Transformers in these movies display humanity much better than the humans do themselves. And in The Last Night, it was different in the sense where you feel you can be human, you can do these amazing things and stand up and fight for what you believe in, but also at the end of the day, your friends are a huge, powerful piece of being who you are and remembering who you are. In this case, when Bumblebee actually does talk and you get to hear his real voice, how it helps Optimus Prime remember who he is. And there's so many scenes like that where in the other Transformers too, like, it just creates this very sadness, and Optimus Prime is just his memories jogged, and he's realizing what he has done, and he feels completely ashamed, and he's ready for his brother knights to actually execute him, and he's just appalled. And you think, oh my God, like, this is so sad. Like, Bumblebee managed to figure out a way to just speak and remind him, because he was about to die. And it's not only that, but other moments where you see, like, even Anthony Hopkins when he dies, and Cogsman goes up to him, and it's just such a sentimental moment. And all the Transformer movies have had that. And I mean, Transformers Dark Side of the Moon, that part where Q dies, that is one of the saddest moments for me. It's just the connections you get with these characters, brief or not. These Transformers they're displayed as being such great personalities that you can connect with, and they're so individual, and all you have to go off of is just really their voice. Everything else is it's CGI and all that, but it's the way they talk and the way they speak. Even with Hot Rod's French accent. Like, it's just what they're saying and how they say it and how you interpret it is what pulls you into a non-existent character, and it's displayed just so well that it blows my mind. Where they're gonna go from this point of the story, I know that Bumblebee's getting his own film. I know that they're planning on doing a bunch more Transformer films. Michael Bay is taking a step back. That being said, this story, it didn't show Quintessa dying. At least for me, it just showed her disappear. So it's hard to tell. Now, Megatron got his arm cut off, but he escaped. He was kicked through the hull of the ship, and they didn't show anything else after that. And then the whole topic of Unicron now also being in the planet, that's a huge issue too. And Optimus Prime looks like he's here to stay. And after that, as the credits were kind of rolling, it showed a lady walking, and she walks up to one of the research teams next to one of Unicron's spikes, and she implies that he doesn't like being touched, and one of the scientists says, like, who doesn't? And she's like, Unicron, I can show you how to kill him. Now, this is a whole new kind of area here. We have possibly Quintessa, 50-50 on that. We have Megatron for sure, and we have Unicron. Now, already the line's drawn for the next film. Unicron is going to be the villain in that. But what does that mean for the Earth? Like, are they going to rip half the Earth open to kill him? Are they going to find another solution? I don't know. I'm very interested to see where it goes, and are they going to end it in the next one more film and then pick up in a different story, in a different direction with the other films? I don't know. Optimus Prime sent out his usual message, but this one was much more prominent over the other ones in the sense he's calling all the Autobots, and we know now that there is a lot more of Transformers out there than we ever thought before. So many of them, and he's calling them, and well, shit's gonna go down. The Transformers themselves have really, when you see someone like Crosshairs and Bumblebee standing next to each other, you really see the difference in how they've changed. Like the original Transformers, for Transformers 1, like Ratchet and Ironhide, their faces were much more mechanical and they looked more like a robot talking. And you have like Drift, Hound, Crosshairs, I mean, they have like grooves on their face, on the metal plates, that give them that more human identity. So seeing that change of generation of Transformer to Transformer, it's very interesting. And when you look at the Decepticons, they don't even look like a Transformer necessarily. It's quite interesting how when they combine, they just have this totally different look to them. It's I guess they would say it's much more Cybertronian look, I suppose. They haven't really inherited or transformed into something Earth-like, I guess. So it's like in Transformers 1, when Optimus Prime and the Autobots arrived, they looked very much... They always remind me of Bionicles, but they look like original alien and foreign and just unknown mechanical beings. And then once they changed into something Earth-related, like trucks and cars and everything, then they had that generic Transformer look and vibe to them. And Dark Side of the Moon, when you get to see the Decepticons arriving, a lot of them have a Cybertronian look to them, and a lot of that's the reason because they haven't necessarily changed or taken a human vehicle form yet, I suppose, but they had more of that Age of Extinction look of like Grimlock and such. Very Transformer, but still very alien at the same time. It was very cool because there were a lot of these Decepticons that I'm gonna have to look into the names of them, because not the ones in the film that were broken or freed from jail, but the other ones that worked directly under Quintessa. One that had like the horns sticking out and had the other Transformers transform into him to make him bigger. They just had a straight up alien still vibe to them, which is really, really cool. And I mean, the Decepticons have always been one of my favorite kind of enemies in a film series. So, and I don't know, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how many times Barricades died. I just swore he got badly damaged in the first one, and I thought he died at the end of that. And I can't remember if he was in Revenge of the Fallen and Dark Side of the Moon. I know he was in that, but I thought he died in that one. I could be mistaken, but he was fleshed out a little bit more in this movie. It was cool to see him actually in that. But left, right, and center, it's Transformers all over the film. I know a lot of people are. I'm sure you guys are looking forward to getting a sequel to this film. I know I am. But up until this film, I have to say Revenge of the Fallen was my most favorite film in the Transformers series to this point. The first one was great. That was a huge stepping stone into this. Dark Side of the Moon, I felt, was kind of on the same level as the first Transformers. And then Age of Extinction, I thought it was cool to see the Dinobots, and it had a lot of really awesome moments, but it didn't do it for me. For me, I'd probably go like Transformers 1 as or underneath Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers 1, Age of Extinction, and Dark Side of the Moon, and then first being Revenge of the Fallen. But now getting to this point with The Last Night, I would have to say that it has definitely gone through the ranks and taken the top. You know, for me, it was those visuals and the cinematic and the filmography of this film, seeing so much combat underwater, seeing so much combat in the air, on the ground, it being such a diverse and immersive experience, and then tackling all these different scenarios and seeing the Transformers in all these different environments. As I said, it does not feel like 2 hours and 45 minutes. You are pulled in beginning to start, pulls you in with the action, and it ends with the action. And before you know it, the film is over. The story was rich. The story was new. I was blown away. I thought that I would be predicting what was going to happen. I thought that I was going to be left just thinking, oh, it's another Age of Extinction kind of feel. Like, oh, it's just another sequel. But this one felt like the beginning of the next chapter, and also leading up to the conclusion of this chapter at the same time. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think out there too. Like, how do you think they're going to handle the sequel to this film, or what are they going to do with Unicron? Where's Megatron going to come into play? And the mysterious lady at the end, like, do you think that could be Quintessa, or do you think that's something else, or just what are your ideas? And also, who is your favorite Transformer character that's made an appearance back in this film? Because for me, I was not expecting Wheelie to pop back up. I was looking at Transformer pictures earlier before I was going to the film, and I was like, oh, there's Wheelie. It was cool to see Brains pop up in Age of Extinction again. But no Wheelie, so that kind of sucked. I always liked him. But then, boom, he's in this film. He's cracking jokes and everything. I think that's awesome. But, I mean, it was awesome to see all these characters. There's so many that we've lost so far, like Jazz, Ratchet, Ironhide, Q. I mean, it's just the characters, they pull you in and you feel so attached to them, and so when one of them dies, it's so sad. And so I'm really happy that we haven't had a main Autobot pass away in this film, but it definitely sets you up to feel like, oh, Bumblebee actually could have died in this scenario, or Optimus Prime could have died. I know it's called The Last Night, and it's kind of just, you feel like it's a foreshadow, but he's still there, and I don't know how many of his Night Brothers that they have with them, but the Autobots are they're packing it, and they have got a large amount of bodies with them now, and he's still calling out their first support. So it just comes down to this final conclusion that Cybertron is now next to Earth, and Unicron is in the Earth. All the Transformers are converging on this point. It's leading to something very large in the next film, and I am so excited to see what's going to be happening and what's going to be delivered on screen. And I really hope we get even a few more returning characters. I'm hoping Sideswipe's out there. I hope he didn't get killed off. I would love to see Sideswipe back. But seeing Lennox again, Mark Wahlberg again, these characters are rich. So to have them brought over into the next film would be great. You know, maybe Shia LaBeouf. Why not? throw him in there. I mean, they gave him a nod in this film, so, you know, just for the heck of it, cameo appearance, you know, for the fans. But it seems about full circle that we've come to, and my rating for this movie, I'd have to say, out of the year for the films that I've seen, this has been one of the best and one of the most exciting films for me personally. And getting to the theater and seeing that the showings were sold out already. I got my tickets in advance, but the showings were sold out already. Made me feel great that this movie is going to do successful, and it's going to get traction, and it's going to have the fan base supporting it, because it's a great movie. And I the only thing that irks me is just how they kind of with the timeline a bit about how the Transformers were engaging with humanity a bit. And I was hoping that this would stick with the storyline a bit more in that regard, because Transformers does a great job at displaying that. So that irked me a little bit, but I'd have to give it a 9.5. I know the other geeks are gonna lay the hammer down on me because of such a ridiculously high rating, but for me, I think that Transformers is an awesome series. I think that it does amazingly well. I think it has every reason to be where it's at as a franchise. The films are incredible, and I think that I can't wait for it to come out in Steelcase and put it right there next to Age of Extinction, because it's a fantastic movie. It's number one out of my list of Transformer films. As I said, Revenge of the Fallen was up there, but this is just right up there now in first place. I highly recommend going to see The Last Night. All of its humor, all of its sincere moments, it just full circle comes around into an awesome film. And as a Transformers fan, it's a great movie. So, that being said, if you want to find more movie reviews and video game content and everything to your heart's content, check us out on Facebook in the search bar, Geekverse Space Podcast, Twitter, Geekverse Cast, SoundCloud, Geekverse Podcast, Twitch, YouTube. We're basically anywhere. If you type Geekverse Podcast in Google, you will find us all over the place. Particularly, though, check out geekversepodcast.com. That's our home base where we put all of our updates and everything. Find all of our Gauntlet videos up to date, everything. And also, you know, throw us a little something if you feel like we're doing a pretty good job at what we're doing on Patreon. We're also on there. So if you throw something our way, then you get episodes early, and you also get to participate in some pretty awesome benefits too, like asking us questions and a lot of cool rewards too. So check all that out. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this review. I'm going to be constantly supporting this film for years to come. I'm going to be online, checking how much this film is making, giving it tons of support, as I said. So until next time, we'll see you in the search bar. Have a good one.